Every year, the National Safety Council promotes Distracted Driving Awareness Month, a month-long effort aimed at increasing awareness across both consumers and employers, with the goal of getting people to not just listen, but to take action to solve the problem of distracted driving. Employers, especially ones with hundreds or even thousands of employees on the road every day, are really in a unique position to affect the kind of change that's so sorely needed. One such company that's not only recognized the challenge of distracted driving, but also the positive impact they could have by solving for it amongst their employees is Terminix. Terminix has been around for more than 90 years, and while most of you are probably thinking about bugs right about now, Terminix is a forward-thinking, innovative company striving to be best in class in their industry by making investments in safety and benchmarking themselves against leaders in other industries. As Mike Letters, safety manager at Terminix, pointed out, safety is at the heart of everything they do, supporting their ability to serve customers, protect their employees, and minimizing economic risks. If he had his way, Terminix would be known not just as the company that eliminates pests, but as the company with the safest drivers. So in honor of Distracted Driving Awareness Month, here is my conversation with Mike Letters on why safety should be the DNA of a company.
My background in safety has been predominantly in transportation. I worked with a major service and leasing company for 13 years prior to joining Terminix. So really everything that I've done in my 25 years has been around vehicle safety as well as driver safety. So bringing that to a fleet of vehicles in excess of 10,000 nationwide in the Terminix brand is something that certainly keeps me busy with making sure that we're doing everything we can to ensure the safety of not only our drivers, but of the general public out there, and certainly the customers we serve in the industry that we're in.
What got you interested in occupational health and safety in the first place?
Well, it's a boring story, honestly. I'm originally from Canada. Back in the early 90s, there was a government change, and one of their mandates was to increase regulation around occupational health and safety. And so there were a number of universities and colleges that undertook the training of those folks that were going to hit the field. And I happened to be one of the first members of the graduating class in Eastern Canada, and took a job actually in my second year of the program. And so I just really saw that as an opportunity to get into an emerging industry in occupational health and safety. And thankfully I did. You know, it's carried me into a career that spanned 25 years in 2 countries with a variety of different companies.
Was it what you thought it would be 25 years ago?
No, not at all. They teach you as a young student with aspirations that you're going to change the world and everybody's going to love you for it. Maybe this is just the role that I've fallen into, but in most activities that I do, you're certainly more of a police officer trying to keep people honest and keep them on track, so to speak. So it's become certainly different than what I imagined, but nonetheless, I do enjoy it. There's a lot of positives to it as well, and some aspects that harken back to what you thought it was going to be. But it's a full-time job of just making sure that you're managing folks, asking them to do the right thing, reminding them what the right thing is, and really participating and sharing in what you believe is going to be the success of a program in getting them home safely every night.
Well, let's talk about Terminix. What's the role of safety at your company?
Yeah, well, we're a pest control company. We have a very large market share in North America. That is our primary business. We go out there into commercial establishments and residential homes and ensure that people live without the anxiety or fear of having unwanted guests in their premises. We're a very specialized professional group of people that have an incredible knowledge base around the characteristics and the entomology of insects and bugs and rodents and birds and everything that you can think of under the sun that you typically wouldn't want to have in your house. And ultimately what that means, though, from a safety standpoint, or at least in a transportation safety standpoint or fleet safety standpoint, is that we can't do anything without turning a wheel. Everything we do is predicated on driving to and from a call. And so I really try and instill in our workforce that, yes, you are professional test technicians, and certainly from our sales side, they're professional sales folks, but they are nothing without being professional drivers. If they don't think of themselves as a professional driver, and they are doing stuff behind the wheel that puts them at risk, they are not going to have a job with us. And it's not because they're not good salespeople or that they're not good pest control technicians. It's because they are poor safety performers behind the wheel. And so that's why, there's such an enormous focus within our company on the task of driving.
Well, October is Distracted Driving Awareness Month. What sorts of things has Terminix put into place, not just this month, but just in general for a fleet safety program?
For us, distracted driving is an everyday plague, I guess I'll say. Our partnership with TRUCE in trying to mitigate that problem has provided a solution that we live by every single day. A large part of my job, a large part of what our managers do on a daily basis is manage the TRUCE compliance. And ultimately what that means is they need to ensure that everybody is compliant on a daily basis with the TRUCE app on their phone and the beacon in their vehicles, so that they are first and foremost protected from being distracted by a device that is issued by the company. And we issue both an iPad and a cell phone to many of our drivers. Every single one of our associates or drivers has a company issued mobile device. And so from a distracted driving standpoint, we understand that device, while being active in the vehicle, may become a distraction. And so we have found a solution in TRUCE that suppresses that notification or suppresses that potential distraction when, say, an incoming call or an incoming text is trying to reach the driver. And conversely, if a driver might be thinking about their day ahead or their evening ahead and reach for their phone to maybe send a text or to look on their calendar in terms of what they need to be doing tonight, what their family responsibilities might be doing tonight, we want to make sure that happens only after they're safely stopped.
Well, Terminix seems to have really been at the forefront of tech adoption. They were the first in the pest control industry to introduce a smartphone app, and you mentioned today every technician being provisioned a phone and a tablet. So does having mobile technology in the vehicle make your company more sensitive to the risk of distracted driving? Did it make you more proactive in trying to solve for it?
Yeah, we've always had technology. I've been with the company for 13 years, and we've always had some form of technology in the vehicle. So yeah, we did introduce a customer-based service app for our customers to be able to connect with our scheduling team, our management team, and in many cases, the driver directly. But even before that, we had devices, which we affectionately called the brick, by which technicians were required to input their daily activities around serving their customer, moving from one stop to another, opening their day, closing their day. We did not have a solution for something like that. Now going basically phone-based with the app that everybody really works with and through today, yeah, we were able to find solutions out in the market that helped us reduce that distraction. So distracted driving through a mobile device is not something new to us with the advent of apps. It's always been there.
Well, what's at stake for a company like Terminix if their employees are seen driving distracted?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, the first part of that question, what's at stake for a company? It's lives. There's no two ways around it. Distracted driving accidents, really at any speed, are the most severe type of accidents you can have, even if they're single vehicle accidents. There is really no greater consequence than a life. And all I can say is that I hope that folks that have been involved in tragedies like that, they find a reflective opportunity to do better. And reality is that you don't have to wait for one of those events to happen to do something. To answer the second part of your question, we have a decal on the side of our vehicle, prominently displayed on the side of our vehicle as well as on the rear of our vehicle, of every vehicle that's gone out since 2008. 2017. It's our no phone zone decal. And that, well, it's a trigger for both the driver and for the general public. We want our driver to see that sticker the last thing they see before they get in the vehicle. We want that to be that constant reminder every single day, every time they get back in their vehicle. That no phone zone sticker says, put your phone away, do not be distracted. Similarly, again, it's strategically placed on the rear of the vehicle so that a caller who observes someone not following our practices or our standards can call that number and report non-compliant activity as well. And every one of those calls comes through my desk. We're very interested in coaching and correcting those behaviors and saving not only that person's career with Terminix, but certainly the lives of those that they share the road with.
Have you seen those calls go down since you've put in a number of elements with your safety program?
That's a great question, and I appreciate you asking that. We have. Let me just kind of give you a little bit of history on that, right? So we had a vendor, the old 1-800 How's My Driving vendors out there. Very good program. They supported us very, very well, but in an effort to try and improve as well as understand where we can cut costs, we went away with that program when we started putting our 1-800 Terminix on the rear of the vehicle. That program in its current format has been in place now for about 5 years. And we used to see in excess of 120 calls a month around, disgruntled people calling in because our drivers were acting aggressively. They were not following procedure. They were just displaying poor driving behavior, whatever the case may be. Certainly with the sticker going on the vehicle and having that accountability now with the driver and people having that opportunity to call in because they understand that, we're a company of safety, social conscience, that they would utilize that to call. Conversely, with the decal going on the vehicle, I believe that has certainly put that accountability on our drivers, and we have seen a decrease in our calls as well. Certainly with TRUCE device in the vehicle and their inability to use the phone, I would certainly attribute that to our decrease in calls. And so we've gone from 120 down to roughly about anywhere from 45 to 65 calls a month. So we've decreased the calls in by roughly 50%. For me, that is part of the reason why we're seeing our downward trend in our collision rate as well over the same period of time.
You mentioned at the beginning of our conversation that everything Terminix does requires the wheels to roll. And you just talked about how prevalent the message is about eliminating distracted driving with your drivers. So do you feel that your safety agenda influences overall business strategy?
It definitely influences business strategy, and maybe some folks might think that that's not a good thing, but absolutely, right? Where a tech was readily available or a salesperson was readily available to a manager, they are no longer necessarily readily available. Messages have to be left, callbacks have to be made, and that certainly can play into somebody's impression of how effective or how efficient we're being out there in our daily activities, trying to serve the company and our customers. But at the end of the day, when you've got 50% less general public caller complaints coming in and you've got less collisions happening with your fleet, there's the payoff right there. You're spending hours less in dealing with retraining, counseling, accident review, finding a supplemental vehicle because the vehicle is now in the shop, potentially finding another driver or adding routes, adding stops to other drivers because a driver is now out of work due to injury. All of that stuff certainly plays back into the efficiency of the business plan and program. And we've demonstrated that. We have seen how safety can give back to business operations by taking something small, I guess, away that, although significant, taking their ability to communicate readily away, but in turn making that entire situation more safe and putting back into the operation the efficiency of not having these events related to poor safety behaviors and driving performance.
Do you calculate an actual financial ROI?
We don't, and I'll just be honest with you. And I think most companies probably understand this as well. Those soft costs are really hard to try and capture, but it does account for millions of dollars. When we look at NHTSA's data around collision costs, and when we can show that we're taking 8, 10, 12, 15% of our collisions out of our performance, we can certainly equate those collision assessments delivered by NHTSA and equate those to what we're seeing. Certainly when we look at our caller complaint history decreasing, we know that by that data, it represents that we are performing better out there, which means we are not ticking people off. And as a result, certainly contributes to operation of our drivers behind the wheel. And without a doubt, that means less collisions, whether minor or major. So when we look at evaluating our costs around what we've spoken about, we believe that we've saved millions of dollars. And quite frankly, that's for other people to really care about. What my interests are is saving lives. And I truly believe that we have saved a life or lives as a result of everything that we have done and look forward to continue doing with Terminix fleet safety programs.
Well, that's a heck of an ROI.
Yeah, I mean, how do you put a price on life? For people that are our family members, in our quote unquote Terminix nation, it doesn't matter to me if that cost was $1 or it was $10 million. All I care about is the children of the fathers and the mothers that drive our vehicles, the brothers and sisters of the people that drive our vehicles, and certainly the friends of everybody that operates our vehicle. That's all I care about. That's all we really care about.
How do you avoid complacency?
I always laugh. Everybody wants to, quote unquote, make safety fun, right? Make safety fun. And if it's fun, then we'll be interested in it. We won't become complacent. So that's a struggle. It really is. I have no silver bullet for that. But you definitely have to evolve. And that is the challenge every day. It's a little easier today because technology is just booming with stuff that claim to help improve business, improve safety. And so, one of the things that we always are doing, quite frankly, in the last 3, 4, 5 years is we're evaluating what partners are out there that will help drive less complacency around. So if anybody else out there has a silver bullet around complacency, we're happy to hear it, especially in a last mile service industry where folks are driving the same roads every day. They're driving in the same vehicle. They've got their routine. They've got their favorite radio station. They've got their favorite podcast. They've got their preferred route. They stop at the same place for lunch, for breakfast, for coffee, for gas. It is difficult to maintain a high level of focus around something that you do relatively similarly every single day.
Do you ever come across that employee that just doesn't get it, or even worse, just doesn't buy into what you're selling?
Yeah. And I'm old school. I understand that people are going to try and find a workaround. And I understand that people are going to fail. But when you've got someone that just refuses to participate, refuses to give it a try, refuses to let go of old behaviors and habits, I don't have time for them to be part of the program and the vision and the performance that we seek in this company. You're putting people at risk. When it comes to driving, if you're not doing the best you can, or at least have that intention of doing the best you can every single time you get behind the wheel, remain focused on the job at hand, fall back on your training, and just try and fight the temptation of distraction. I wish I could have gotten ahead of a lot of the things that have happened to us in the past, even while on my watch, but we can only look forward and try and avoid similar situations from happening again.
What lessons can you share about safety programs when you roll something out that's new and you're asking the employees to do something different? What's the best way to do that?
Yeah, so that's another one, right? I would love to hear from anybody that's got, solutions around that. But one of the things that I have adopted personally after rolling out 4 critical programs around driver safety is communication. And we've got a variety of different communication tools, and none of them capture 100% of the audience. And that is not the fault of anybody in our company. It's not the fault of the communication tool or the medium. It's just simply reality, right? You're not going to be able to capture everybody in one fell swoop. And so whenever I'm rolling something out, it's a 6-week program for me just to talk about it before it lands out there in the field, right? So my strategy is to socialize, socialize, socialize at every level, right? We socialize with our ELT, we socialize with our middle managers out in the field, and we socialize with our workforce, right? The frontline workers. It's all about just communicating, but persistent communication and different pipelines of communication with the hopes of getting everybody plugged in at some point over the arc of that communication program or communication plan. It still doesn't reach everybody, but again, we continue to evolve and try and find ways to connect.
So after 25 plus years doing this, what's your definition of safety?
It's simplistic and it's complicated. It's as simple as making sure that you get home safe every single night, right? What are you going to do to ensure that you sit at the dinner table that night? It's not about the safety manager. It's not about the safety team. It's about what are you going to do to ensure that you get home safely every night. It's a personal responsibility, but it's also the life breath of a company. It's a cultural play. It's something that you can't turn on and turn off without the right leadership in a company. And so if safety is all about the safety department, and if it's all about them driving, a bulletin board or a training program, you haven't solved for safety at all. You haven't even come close. It's about creating a passion within the culture of your company. Whenever you heard DuPont in the 70s and 80s, your first response to that name or that company was not what they did, what they sold as a product or what industry they were in. Well, they were in the safety industry, right? You just knew. You didn't have to be a safety professional. When the word DuPont came about, that's what you thought about. You thought about safety. And that's what every company needs to strive for, right? When I hear the word Terminix being spoken about in public, I want people to think about safe drivers. I don't want them to think about bugs. I want them to think about professional drivers. I want them to think about quality driving behaviors out there in the world. And to me, that's my definition of safety, is when the company that I'm working for or with, in the breath of the first thought, safety is part of that DNA of that company, that name.
What's something you wish every business leader knew or really understood about the role of safety within the company?
It's a really good question, because I think every safety professional wants to be a partner at the table. And I think a lot of leaders still see that role or that department as being an impediment to business. We've got some amazing leadership right now, the likes of which we've never had. They have safety DNA in their background. They get it. They get it like no other leader in our company or any of the previous companies that I've worked for. They understand it, right? So if you want to be an extraordinary leader for any company, safety has to be part of your DNA. If it isn't, you're going to miss a component of the secret sauce that's going to make you and your company the best that it can be. And I'm ecstatic to have the leadership that we have right now. It's exciting, and I'm looking very much forward to the next few years that we're currently planning for right now.
At Terminix, a company with more than 9,000 vehicles on the road every day, safe driving is not just a mantra, but a strategic part of how the business operates. The policies and technologies they deployed are demonstrating that safety can positively impact the efficiency and performance of their business, returning significant savings to their bottom line. And for Mike Letters, he's seen how a company that incorporates safety into the DNA of their culture is delivering on its goal to be the best it can be. This is Kathleen Finato from TRUCE Software. Join me again as I talk to safety leaders across a wide range of industries to understand how what drives them in their field is also driving the success of their companies. It's no accident.